Welcome to this week's Halacha Shir in a very different setting. I'm in between the chuppah and the dinner at a wedding in a very beautiful English country estate, and I'm sitting in a pod in the gardens here, and I have an opportunity to record the shir, so I would like to do so. It's a fabulous topic, a very interesting topic, and that is Bikur Choleh and davening for the sick. It's related to this week's Parshas Balosecha, because of course Moshe Rabbeinu davens for Miriam with the famous tefillah of Kel no Rafon no lo, a very short tefillah to daven for the well-being of his sister Miriam. Now, the Shlah makes a fascinating point that Bikur Choleh is perhaps not what we expect it to be. If I were to ask you, when you go visit a person in hospital or at home, and you bring a bunch of flowers, or you take a newspaper, a magazine, a sefer, some food, a bunch of grapes, and you go visit that person, have you fulfilled the mitzvah of Bikur Choleh? You would probably say, absolutely, that's exactly what I was doing. I went to visit that sick person. But if you actually think about it and you look at the detail of what Bikur Choleh is, you may not have done. It may well be a fabulous chesed, but it may not be Bikur Choleh. Why is that? Take a look. If you're listening online, please email me at j.golker@gmail.com. I'll send you the handout. The second box on the sheet is a shlah. The shlah says in Pesachim ner mitzvah ois ein vov u Bikur Choleh hu beguf v'nefesh u'mamon. There are three possible ways of being mekayim the mitzvah of Bikur Choleh and visiting the sick. Beguf v'nefesh u'mamon. Physically, financially, and with your neshama. How so? So, says the shlah. Beguf ketzad, how do you fulfill the mitzvah of Bikur Choleh with your physical body? Yorutz v'yisasek b'chol tzrachov. You run and you busy yourself for the needs of the Choleh, v'lahamtzilo kol refoisov, and to provide whatever he needs. V'chein yitrach begufo b'yeset tzrachov, and you deal with his physical needs, whatever they happen to be. Amar Rabbi and he quotes the famous Gemara in the Dar Mem Amud Aleph, Ma'aseh b'Talmud Echad b'Talmud Rabbi Akiva, the famous story where the Talmud Rabbi Akiva got ill, shechola, v'lo nichnasu chacham levakar, and the chachamim for whatever reason didn't go and visit him. V'nichnas Rabbi Akiva levakar, and Rabbi Akiva went and visited him. U'b'shvil shekibed v'ribes lefonav choya, and because he took care of the physical needs of the person, he swept, he cleaned up the room, he lived, the person got better. Amalei Rebbe hechi yisani, Rebbe, he said to Rabbi Akiva, you've brought me back to life. So you see, the physical is one aspect of Bikur Choleh. B'nefesh ketzad, how so on a nefesh level? Yishpoich nafsho b'tchinos li'espalel Hashem Yisbarach, you daven for the person. Sheyishlach l'refuah shlema, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends a refuah shlema to the person. And lastly, financial, b'mamon ketzad, lirois im ein lo l'choleh mamon kol tzarche, if the choleh hasn't got sufficient financial means, lishtadel lo ki tzarche ha'choleh hem merubas, because financial means can be very, very exorbitant and very a lot. Now, the Shulchan Aruch says, interestingly, in Yerideh, Siman Shin Lamatei Sif Daled, the Ramah says, "V'chol shebikev v'lo bikesh levrachim l'kiyum ha-mitzvah." If you go visit the Choleh and you haven't davened for him, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah. So what comes out from all of this is that Bikur Choleh can be done in one of three ways. Number one, financial, to pay for the medical expenses of the person. Number two, physical, to make sure that all the physical needs of the patient are met. For example, to actually go in and sort of give the person a pillow, or to change the sheets, or to prop up the pillow, or something like that, to clean the house. And then on a neshama level, to daven for the person, i.e., to just pray for him. Now, therefore, let's go back to our scenario. You go to the hospital, or you go to the person's house, and you give him a bunch of grapes, or a cake, or something to read. Have you fulfilled Bikur Choleh? Well, you haven't paid for his medical expenses. You haven't necessarily ensured his physical needs are met. I mean, you've given him something to eat, but he was eating anyway. And third of all, neshama, have you done for him? Well, if you haven't done for him, you have not actually done Bikur Choleh. You've done a chesed, and therefore the main Bikur Choleh today really is davening for the person, because financially, you're not paying for the person's physical needs, medical expenses. Certainly in the United Kingdom, there's a national health service, and even if a person has private health care, then the visitor is not paying for medical expenses. And furthermore, the physical needs, there is a medical team, nursing staff who are going to deal with that. So really the main responsibility of visiting the person is to daven for them, and the Ramban says that in Teres Odom very clearly. Perhaps a parting wish of refuah shlema when you visit the person, or say, you hope you get out of here soon, that maybe is a minimal tefillah. Now, Therefore, when you go to the Choleh, it's important you daven for the person, and even if you're not in their presence, of course you can daven for them, and that is a key of the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. When you're in the presence of the person, it's a very beautiful thing to daven, but of course, to daven quietly and do so sensitively. In fact, the Gesher Chaim makes this point that when you're in the presence of a Choleh, it's better to daven quietly and more, sensitively, as you might scare the Choleh. And also it's important to include others, and we always add b'toch shar Choleh Yisrael. Now, another interesting point with regard to davening for the Choleh is, do you have to say the name? So the Gemara in Brachas, if you look at the bottom box on the sheet, the Gemara in Brachas Lamadal Lamadal says, Omer Rabbi Yaakov, Omer Rabbi Chisda, Kol mevakesh rachim al chaveiro ein tzorech lahaskish shmoi. You don't need to mention the person's name. Shenema kel narafon Allah. The precedent is this week's Edra. When Moshe Rabbeinu davens for Miriam to be healed from tzaras, he doesn't specify a name. He doesn't say Miriam Bas Yocheved. He just says, Kel narafon Allah, please heal her. V'lo kol medlaka shmod de Miriam. He doesn't mention her name. So the Gemara in Bracha says you don't need to mention the name. Ein tzorech lahaskir shemoi. The Magen Avram in Siman Kuf Yutes Sifkat Aleph mentions this and says, Hamavakesh rakim al chaveiroi ein tzorech lahaskir shemoi, quoting this Gemara in Brachas. V'hani mili befonov. That's only when you're in the presence of the person. But when you're not in the presence of the person, then you do have to mention the person's name. Now, of course, that's l'chatchila. But if you don't know the person's name, you can daven, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. But really, according to this Magen Avram, if you're in the presence of the person, there's no need to mention the name, and you can just say Kel Narafon or Lo Yola. And if you're not in the presence, you should say the person's name. And of course, it's the mother's name. Now the question is, why the mother's name? We always, when we daven for a Choleh, we daven for the person, Ben or Bas, the mother's name. Why is that? So I've come across 4 reasons. The first is the Chochmas Shlema. If you look at the next page, on paragraph 5, subsection 1. The Chochmas Shlema says something very interesting, the Marshal. Dafka nokat ploni ben plonis, we say the mother's name, listen to this, Shebnei od makirin ha'isha shehi eim havlad, yesemi aviv, kach shamaiti. Says the Marshal that we are more certain regarding the identity of the mother. We know the identity of the mother because she gave birth to this child, so it's absolutely clear that she is the mother. But a father, we don't know for certain that he is the father, and therefore it's better to daven for the mother's name because we're more certain about her identity. The Ben Yehoyada questions that. He quotes this, he says, Hatam, in the next box, he says, and this is all based on the Gemara Shabbos Samach Vav and based on Marshal and this Ben Yehoyada, Hatam she'em Shem Imay v'lo Shem Aviv, Omrim ha'olam, the world says, Ki Imay vadoyes yos me Aviv, the reason the Marshal said above. V'lo nichli b'zeh, I don't like that reason. V'adarab, on the contrary, Yesh b'zeh chidul kovach she'mezal zeh ba'aviv, she'seh b'torah sofik, you're sort of, it's disparaging for the father. You're questioning his being the father of this child. That's not a nice thing to do. So the Ben Yehoyada doesn't like that. Omnom nirali, however, it appears to me b'siyata d'shma time. Listen to this. There's the Ben Yehoyada, a fabulous reason. Mipnei she'ein alo isha kitrugim kol kach. Because the mother has less kitrugim, indictments, accusations, kamoi hoish, like the man. Why? She'pturim mitzvah seishas man groma. Because a woman is exempt from mitzvah seishas man groma of the oven bittul Torah. She's not obligated in Talmud Torah, nor is she chayav in mitzvah seishas man groma, and therefore she has more zechuyos. Astonishing. So, for example, this morning we're in the height of summer. So this morning in London, Soisman Kriyashma, the second Zman Nagan, was 8:52. So maybe, I'm sure that sadly there are people out there who blew it. They got up later, they didn't say Shema before 8:52 a.m. this morning, so that is a kitrug against them. Maybe they didn't learn as much as they could have done, and therefore they've got an avera of bittul Torah. And therefore, to say the Choleh's name, the son of the father, well, they're kitrugim against him. He hasn't got as many zuchuyos as the mother would have, who is not liable for bittul Torah, because she had no chiyuv of Talmud Torah, nor is she chayav mitzvah seishas man groma, so they're less kitrugim against them. Astonishing idea. The Yalkut Yosef, Rabbi Yosef in Bikul Cholim in Vavelus in Siman Aleph, he says something fascinating. He quotes this Ben Yehoyada and he says this: Va'ani Toma al Harav, I'm astonished by the Rav, the Ben Yehoyada. Shahaya Ariba Mistorim. He is the lion in Nista, in Torah Nista, in the secrets of Torah. Vasar Beis HaZoya, and he's the prince of the Zoya. This Zoya sort of it slipped his mind. It's a well-known Zoya in Parshas Lech Lecho. Shekosu b'shem b'zeh loshen Pnei Elai v'chaneni Tnei uzcha la'avtecha v'hishia leven amosecha. David HaMelech davens that he should get better. V'hishia leben amosecha, the son of your maidservant. So we have a precedent. That is the term used by David HaMelech. V'hishia leben amosecha. He davened about himself in the name of the son of your maidservant, i.e. his mother. It says the Zoya v'chilei have a braid. The Yishai didn't have David HaMelech had a father. Why didn't he quote the father? Did he have to quote his mother and not his father? You therefore got to do it on the mother's name and not the father's name, and that's why I mentioned the father, the mother and not the father. So therefore it's based on a Zohar that you mention the mother's name and not the father's name. And then he quotes the Marshal that is indeed what the Marshal says. So therefore that svara of the Chachma Shlema, the Marshal, is based on the Zoya, and the Yalkut Yosef is perplexed that the Ben Yehuda must have slipped his memory or he overlooked this particular Zoya. So we have those three interesting reasons. Number one, that there's more certainty regarding the identity of the father. Number two, the mother has more merit and less kitrugim. And number three, that was a term used by David HaMelech. There is a fourth reason I once came across. I was once in Brighton, in a provincial town, seaside town here in the UK, and the Rav there was he's now retired, but he was a Rav for many years. His name was Rabbi Silverman, and a wonderful man. And he has a Q&A every fourth Shabbos in that shul. They did a Q&A, and I happened to be there that Shabbos, and they asked this question: why do we always name after the mother's name? Would you daven with the person after the son of the mother's name? And he said something fascinating. He said that it's a time when rachamim is needed, and we turn to the mother as the child emerged from her rechem, her womb, and which is connected to the word rachamim. So at a time when we want rachamim, we dafka make reference to the mother who has a rechem. The child emerged from the womb, the rechem of the mother, connection to rachamim. One final thing, or what if you don't know the mother's name? Then what? So the Yalkut Yosef mentions that. If you look at the final box on the page, you don't need to mention the name. When is that true? That's what we said before. When you're davening in the presence of the Choleh. But if you're davening shalei befonov, then you should mention the Choleh's name and the mother's name, like we've said. Ploni ben plonis. If you don't know the mother's name, then you can say the father's name. Ploni ben ploni. Fascinating. So if you don't know the mother's name, it's okay to say the father's name. If you don't know either the mother's name or the father's name, Ploni ben Chava. Wow. You say Ploni ben Chava, because Ein Kol Chai, she is the mother of everybody, and that's the next thing to do. And therefore, if you're in the presence of the Choleh, you can borrow Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillah and say Kelno, not Refono Lo, in the feminine, but Refono Loi, i.e. in the masculine, if the Choleh is a male. So, says Ravad Yosef, very interestingly, of course, in the presence, you can just say Kelna Refono Lo, just whatever you want to say. And not in the presence, you should say then the Choleh's name, the son of the mother. If you don't know the mother's name, you say the father's name. If you don't know that, you can say Ploni ben Chava, who is the Ein Kol Chai. And if you don't know that, you can, I guess, you can say whatever you can in the pasuk, or whatever you want to daven. That I suppose is better than anything. But ultimately, Ploni ben Chava would be the solution to all those situations. So let me just summarize, and then I'll just tell you one fabulous story. So again, what we said? We said that there are three errors of Bikkur Cholim. We're mentioning this week because of the pasuk Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem Lemo Kelno Refono Lo, davens for Miriam. The Shlosh says there are three errors of Bikkur Cholim: financial, physical, and neshama. Financial means to pay for the medical expenses. Physical, to ensure all the physical needs of the patient are met, propping up the pillow, changing the sheets, etc. And neshama is to daven for them, and that is the main Bikkur Cholim that we do nowadays. In the presence, it's better to do so quietly so as not to scare the person. And it's important to include others, b'toch shai Choleh Yisrael, saying the name. If you're in the presence, then you don't need to. The Gemara in Bracha says, the Magen Avraham says, not in the presence, you do have to mention the mother's name. And why mention the mother's name? For the 4 reasons that we've said. Either because there's more certainty regarding the identity of the mother, or the mother has more merit and less kitrugim, or because it's the term used by David HaMelech, or because of the connection to the words rachamim to rechem. And if you don't know the mother's name, then it's okay to use the father's name, or if you don't even know that, then Ploni ben Chava. Finally, an amazing story. Dr. Shlomo Adler, one of the legendary personages of the United Kingdom, there's an article, a book about him, an amazing man. Passed away about 15-20 years ago. Worthwhile reading this amazing biography. But it's a story that I don't know if it appears in the book or not, but I heard from Rabbi Roberts. It was an amazing story. He was once walking down Brent Street, just past Shire Hall on that stretch down towards Golders Green, and it was late at night, and he noticed a car on the side. And there was a man slumped over the wheel. It was very late at night. Rabbi Roberts got very worried. He walked over to the car just to see if everything's okay. And then he got closer. He saw it was Dr. Adler, a man who was already still practicing in his 80s. Tzaddik, when he went to see the Gedolim, when he went to heal and to give medical help to the Stipler and others, the Stipler would say that when I saw Dr. Adler walk in the room, I saw the Malach Rafal standing next to him. So Dr. Adler at that time, Rabbi Ross was walking here in London down Brent Street. He sees a man slumped over the wheel. He gets close. He sees Dr. Adler. He gets a bit anxious. He knocks on the window, and Dr. Adler sits up and he's startled. He said, "Dr. Adler," he winds out the window and goes, "Dr. Adler, is everything okay?" Dr. Adler said, "I've just been to see a patient. It's la'acha hayush. There is nothing else I can do medically for this patient. All I can do is daven and say Tehillim for him." What a remarkable story. What a remarkable doctor. Understanding that he is the shliach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he did everything he can do medically, and after that point, then he davens. Because really that is one of the ways of performing the mitzvah of Bikkur Cholim nowadays.